Séamus Mac Mathúna, Séamus an Timire, Séamus the musician, the singer, the dancer, the composer, the collector. Séamus lit up our music, illuminated it with his passion. He raised up our musicians and singers and dancers and storytellers and poets, and he always made it a joyful celebration. So the first section tonight, we'll go home, we'll go to County Clare. Clare, chroí an Cheoil. Mc Mahon from Cotter Clare. It was there that his story began and always continued. Because it began before he was born, in the love of the people of Clare had for their heritage and tradition. Before we go on to the next, Eamonn, could you give us a brief few sentences about the time in Ennis for the classes you attended with Séamus?
Well, I wouldn't be here only for Séamus, that's what if the truth was known, because I was part of a group of musicians in the late 60s, early 70s that went to classes in the technical school in Ennis. And it was started by Séamus in conjunction with the VEC. He was working with the library in Ennis at the time, and with the VEC and Jack Mulcair and Sean Reid, Mrs. Crotty, people like that who were involved in Comhaltas, they teamed up with the VEC and they set up classes. They were primarily at the time for adult musicians, or adults that wanted to learn music. But then they decided, to make more sense, I suppose, to get young people in. So we were like people like Kieran Hanlon and Paul Roach and Mc Mahon's, Dermot Lennon, people like that, people now approaching the retirement age that benefited from those classes. And, we were townies, we were from the town, so it was a new concept, of teaching music. It was the first in Ireland, really, of learning music in a kind of a systematic way, in a proper, in a school. Before that, you see, going back the years, people would be handed an instrument and work away yourself. That was the approach, And this was the whole new thing, and that was all part of the music revival at the time. And thanks to Séamus.
Thanks, Eamonn. How about a few more tunes, lads? Come on, good. Thank you, Eamonn.
sé beotha gur mágat. Tá míid chun an tám a cha Séamus I gceantar Fleadh Lucra agus I gólé a chalúra le cúpla dras ón CD ar nó Lewis go nó tape nó cibéan rud a bhí ann ag an nám íon sé le léach Fleadh Lucra Jimmy Doyle agus le Connie atá in our downta nocht agus man Connie agus tás nó míid le dras chleanán legan Portugal dí chuomh de Merlicus the Quaker and the Dingle Regatta.
Táim chun Odhran chana le Bert iníon le Séamus an Sáníomh agus Ide agus big Lorcána an Ceapan agus an Cailín Éireach hí ardmheas ag Séamus Odhran stíl óráníochta Chulé agus Vúscrí. He loved Patty Haig Fig was his name, singing. Patty Haig Fig used to sing this song on Cailín Éireach, which comes from Vúscrí. So we'll sing it now. Okay. Maidin de dánig grimefran de stucht vi quillach de húgach I dignelli heli. Vi na borda mólis an tóldach lechan. Vi si aunis ni ról si brendes and falda dalda dai ro falda dalda de ro falda diddlai de ro. Falda dalda dai ro falda dalda de ro falda diddlai ro. Nuair a hána go bhaile go tuiseach tréachta de hís in na heicisiún ag gháil leis céile. Ach de hánig ben na tíisteachs ba chum an nó an chéirí. Is the Ibershig and William and Callie Neros and fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I dero. Fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I lidlero. Is the varni home na din mererum avim gomorlish and gallinera. On can vi kurach ni olhoch brande. Star schuling len rochto gallum nar veldus and fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I dero. Fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I lidlero. Da vekking I marach ride door noch vi kan agus kart in a live in nacht. Ni hawking she partlen and narrowing there. Maar de rinkel sheer chlarlum meraljoch der and fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I dero. Fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I lidlero. Agus corle verim she de challini oge, gan vechem och denach gedachten en oigar. Och tachte valle golum ranona, nummer in it gorben alle to go horse and fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I dero. Fall the dal the diro, fall the dal the dero, fall the deedle-I lidlero.
Marcus and Murchú is also with us. Marcus, can you tell us about the time in Ballycastle? We're all eager to know about those times.
Ballycastle, for people who don't know the geography, is the very northeastern part of County Antrim. Séamus used to bring up a bus, 2 buses of musicians. And you think of us like living up there, and you know what it's like. You look at the TV, you've seen what it's like. That I'm talking about the 1970s, 1980s, and the place was mad. Like, you know, there was roads blocked, and there was searches, and there was stuff going on. But Séamus brought 2 busloads, big buses, and we just thought this was like, you know, this was just fantastic. The crowd coming up from Monkstown, Ballinamana, crowd coming up from Sean Tracy branch, from Clontarf, you know. And for us, like, this is like Allah or the chroí, you know. It was like getting anointed or something, you know. I've never been anointed, thankfully, but I presume it's something like that. But it had that feeling, you know, because, you know, Séamus encouraged me. I'm looking up at his eyes there, you know. You would be playing. I invited me on several cultist tours of America and back in when I was in my 20s. In fact, older than my daughter here, Rasha. He was so encouraging. He encouraged like the likes of Tommy Guihan, my age group, and would encourage Conal O'Grada from Cork, and myself from Belfast. And, you know, what a man. Like, he was just, you know, he was showing gra to everybody and dive to everybody, and he had time for young people. He had time for the masters, but he had time for the likes of ourselves, you know, which was fantastic, you know. Because the bhí gram orgam dá fear ítach, agus bhí más ítach agam agus Mc Ceoil and Labhrás Ó Murchú ag an tóru ag an Afran chas Mc Ceoil cos na huaige agus caramór bhí an fear ítach.
Okay, we'll have a few tunes from Marcus and from Russia. Clown Ivarako, Margav.
Shinny muid gav fort. Séamus, of course, been from the Banner, County Clare. The first one's called Clancy's, but if you know your history, the Clancy's weren't from Clare, they were from the border area of Fermanagh and Leitrim. And the second one is called Up Leitrim. So.
Julian, the watching fre, Vian sperchan crum sangriade tatnu, and with the schleppes made on hanker, and she's favroach and yasse. She's a schliau, es Fleidhe right nach, she's a schliau favroach and yasse. En nooit de schleppes meer omheen kunnen, maar she's favroach en jasse, she's a schliau. Go Fleadh wines met Mc Cheoil, es me chomoid a leis na mannen. She Mc Mahon en sper van Ceoil, she's scubu en droogte Linnane. She's a schliau, es Fleidhe right nach. She's a schliau favroach en jasse. En nooit de schleppes meer omheen kunnen, maar she's favroach en jasse. She's a schliau. Boren gnes bejassele, agus in den hene jaren jannen. Gurlíle njalta donna nuasar flaen riasar heel glane. She's a schliau, es Fleidhe right nach. She's a schliau favroach en jasse. En nooit de schleppes meer omheen kunnen, maar she's favroach en jasse. She's a schliau. O gelooy shalom, Chaoimh luat valachish. This is more choy to willow one than a hun is galu on a machish. She's a schliau, es Fleidhe right nach. She's a schliau favroach en jasse. En nooit de schleppes meer omheen kunnen, maar she's favroach en jasse. She's a schliau. Chirishi agus shushi lei, sneren shitus a hat na hannem. Ach the men and a rian in barring day, agus winning much funder here with Linnane. She's a schliau, es Fleidhe right nach. She's a schliau favroach en jasse. En nooit de schleppes meer omheen kunnen, maar she's favroach en jasse. She's a schliau. Sinead go raibh
what's the news, oh my bold Chandelier, with your long barrel gone out to sea? Say what wind from the south blows your messenger here, with a hymn of the dawn for the free. Goodly news, the white bring you to court, goodly news, the dear Barry man. For the boys march at dawn from the south to the north, led by Kenny, the boy from Clan. Tell me who is that giant with the gold curling hair, he who rides at the head of her band? 7 feet is his height with some inches to spare, and he roams like a king in command. For his eyes, that's the pride of the whole Chandelier, amongst our bravest of heroes of man. Sing your beavers aloft and big tree ringing cheers for John Kelly, the boy from Clan. Then the scorches in flames and go westward is one, and tomorrow the barrow will rise. On the hill or the town we have planted a bomb that will batter the gateway of us. All the workmen and bargainmen will march o'er the heath with brave Harvey to lead on the van. But the foremost of all in that grim gap of death will be Kenny, the boy from Clan. But the gulf of freedom grew dark in that cross, and it set by the slain dread waves. And though Wexford stripped naked hung high upon the cross, and her heart beat by traitors and slaves. Glory, oh, to those braves and to time, for the cause of one downtrodden man. Glory, oh, to one Leinster, so darling and bright. Dauntless Kelly, the boy from Clan.
Okay. Our last contribution before the interval is entitled Ceol Gomagin. Séamus was Timor Ceol for Comhaltas for almost 30 years. And he drove that mighty revival of our music with great passion and energy, organising fleadhe, concert tours, recordings, collectings, and much more. Above all, he was the musician's musician. As one admirer wrote afterwards, the heart of Comhaltas. 2 of the phenomenal outdoor gigs he produced, which earned the group a golden disc, were the James Last Concert and the Guinness Sessions. And we're going to hear 2 sets from those shortly. But first, we'd like to welcome to the stage the Mulcahy family, followed by the McGowans and the O'Reillys. Gramila Mahagev. And before we start, Louise, I have a question for you if you're okay.
It's the excitement.
You said before that when you were very, very young, you had a real sense of excitement coming to Cortolan to see Séamus.
Absolutely. Well, I think Séamus was an incredibly inspiring person on so many levels. And for us, he had that incredible ability, that incredible warmth to instill a sense of excitement and passion for Irish traditional music, for our culture, our language, and of course our seanos singing and our dancing, right from the youngest member of the audience. And I think for us attending and travelling to Dublin during the summer, it was something incredibly exciting. He always had that warmth, exuded a warmth and passion for Irish music, and he had that lovely sense of encouragement each time we would meet him in the Cultúrnan. And we have really fabulous memories of iconic sessions in the Cultúrnan. It really became synonymous with that word, excitement. And for us as teenagers and as children going to Dublin, we have just such fond memories of him. And of course that ASO concert at the Fleadh in Ennis as well. Just memories that we will treasure forever. I think for everybody here that knew him, and certainly for all the musicians, he really encapsulated what Irish traditional music was all about, and of course the community of musicians as well, and that sense of love, respect and honour for what we all stand for here at Fleadh Cheoil Éireann.
Absolutely. Go Margaret. He was almost, Séamus was almost like a magician, because you'd never know when the magic would happen.
Absolutely.
So let's have some magical music now from the Mulcahy family.
Thank you so much.
our lifetime, I suppose. We were good friends. We done many things together. I think I got to know Séamus first back in the early 1970, when we were both on the production team for the first Fleadh Nua. And after that, then, when Comhaltas had a radio programme, we worked on the organising and production of a programme together every week for a couple of years. And we're great fun doing that, because there's many things that would strike you about Séamus Mac Mathúna. You know, the fun, the enjoyment, the crack. Everything had a light-hearted approach. But the one thing that would also strike you, and also struck me, was his knowledge. Séamus had an amazing knowledge of the tradition, and he's one of the few people I knew that was highly respected in the music, in the sean-nós singing, and in the traditional singing in English. He had a command of all three, and he was respected as a knowledgeable person in all of those three areas, and one of the few people that I know that carried that, and indeed he carried it lightly. And I used to compare Séamus to the village blacksmith. Or the village schoolmaster, I'm sorry.
Village what?
The village schoolmaster, because when I would be with Séamus, I would wonder and wonder and wonder that one small head could carry all that he knew. It was like that. And I'll give you an example of that one time when I was working on the Eddie Clark collection, the old cassettes of Eddie Clark, and there were 42 songs on tape, and I knew that we could only put about 12 on a CD, and so I went through them and, you know, was thinking about them and all, but Séamus would be my go-to person. So I gave the cassettes to Séamus, and we sat down, we met and we sat down and we went through all the songs, each of them one by one, and divided them into categories and all. And there was one song that Séamus was quite taken with, The Maid on the Shore. He says, that's quite rare now to hear that song nowadays. You don't hear anyone singing that song. I says, great, we have something great for the CD. The only thing is the first verse is missing, he says. Oh, and then I thought, well, if it's that important, let's put it on, and we'll put a note in the notes that the first verse is missing. And Séamus says, well, no, maybe now. He says, maybe, he says, would there be any chance we could get someone with a Cavan accent that'd sing the first verse? Because Eddie was Cavan. I says, yes, of course. I says, young Philip Clark, his nephew, that he made the cassettes for in the first place. So he says, that'd be great. And just like that, he put his hand into his pocket, he took out his biro, and he wrote me the first verse from the head. That's the way the head was. That's what was in the head. And that kind of knowledge. And I always enjoyed Séamus. He was a great man to sing a song. But of course, Séamus didn't just sing a song, he lived a song. Can you remember him with the chest out singing Morgilla Mar? And I can remember him one night at my Mullahoran concert that I run every year. He came down and he sang about the All-Ireland final between Cavan and Kerry in the Polo Grounds in 1947. And I can tell you that everyone in that hall felt they were in the Polo Grounds, and they all kicked every kick of the ball. That's what the way he could deliver a song. And he said to me one time, he says, I'm glad I lived when I did, because I was there to meet all the owl boys and have the crack with them, he says. The Clancys, the Denis Murphys, the Paddy McIlvanys, the John Keenans. And of course, all of those people are gone to their eternal reward now, so the fun continues up there.
No. Alleluia, Grainne, Odhran gantúlach, Elvie stellat glúiseacht, nó an mar hir garbrach, bagún da hichten, I did up right. Is my heart for son we lad, landes na Chaoimh, after mar higam, thou handens an oirut, thee howard here an botaish, gaflaish namras, magrais malagard, imranar reg gluishaft, niklaishan mein doinoid, evlahas namras, niarim namannaram, gnastan nastuma, o kailla gonarubacht, nila varla foil. No up to God in Nick, Eire when we brutan, Yoi to the guys, my vasen alone wish, oh Ryers no flash, Ganata, Ganavutish,
Tom, if I can ask you a question, Kishtawan. Séamus loved the music of John McKenna, and that lifty, lively music. He was a great mentor to young flute players.
He was indeed. He was a mighty mentor, and I mean, there were many of us that he took under his wing, or his oxter. And my God, we owe so much to Séamus about being infused with all the passion that he gave us, and hopefully we can pass a bit of Séamus on in our own playing. We're very lucky to have met Séamus and be under his mentorship.
Okay, off you go, guys. And now to that Sligo Leitrim influence. And we're all remembering the two great Lennons, Ben and Charlie, sadly gone from us. Séamus' great friend Mick O'Connor said that the Fleadh was made once they all got up to meet for tunes. So, Oisín, I have a small question for you. They were a great generation, and they left us such an incredible legacy.
Unbelievable, Senan. We had a great graw for Séamus in Sligo and Leitrim, and of course he had a great graw for that musical style as well. To hear him talk about Fred and Peter and Ben and Charlie was, I suppose, to conjure up some of the magic of that style. And by God, did Séamus bring magic to all our musical lives. I think all of us that grew up and felt the spirit that he brought to the Fleadh made the Fleadh the greatest place to be in the world.
Okay, come on, good. Arrive, Labhrás.
Seo Cira Riel the Chudge John McKenna Anish and almost the Séamus. So these are 4 tunes from John McKenna, a great Leitrim flute player in memory of Séamus here. So, 4, 3.
Margaret.
Bhí sé de privilege mór míteach aganne mar chláán go raibh cardis idir chláán Mc Mahon agus Muid Hain. It was one of the great privileges of our lives to have known Séamus Mac Mathúna and to have been friendly with him and his family. What can I say about Séamus that hasn't been said already? He was just one of the most amazing people I ever met in my life. Anton McGowan talked about his knowledge of music, his love of music, his love of seanos. Oh, he used to say about the seanos. Incredible. He did so much good for our tradition and our culture. I have said always that, in my opinion, nobody has done more than Séamus Mac Mathúna for our culture to bring it back together. And they told me to be short and not to be saying things here. But one very small thing I want to say is that a thing that's nearly forgotten about in lots of ways now that Séamus did, he revitalised one of our great seanos singers, a man called Tadhg O'Cahan, mentioned there briefly a few minutes ago. Tadhg was one of Sean O'Reilly's prodigies way back in the 60s, and then unfortunately in bad times he had to emigrate to Sassana, and he was lost, gone, forgotten about, until Séamus discovered him in Leeds by a total happen chance. He was at the Fleadh in Leeds, and somebody came to him and said, "There's a great singer down there in one of them pubs called Dudley Kane." He said, "You should go down and listen to him." And Séamus didn't know who Dudley Kane was. He said, "I'll go down." And who was there? Only Tadhg O'Cahan. And he reinvented him. He brought him back to Ireland. He got him to do an LP with Grainne, which is one of the masterpieces of seanos now. That's all down to Séamus. And I can't finish without saying that whatever you paid coming in at the door here tonight was worth it to just listen to Ona Mc Mahon singing earlier on. What a performance. Fair play, good Jonah. Okay, with your bray.
Oh, silly who is my girl, long and the moon and long legs. We shall root to hear come a in mass and nimmer Cadhla. Neil marach dal I follow ni hosa hein is conte. Ach an drama dog to hear the wing. Strap a leis an anton. Ta long a golan the new. A cholín for a Chaoimh. Agus in a lat ar sol and noon. Mar a wee to loch a hair. Explosed our clay. Oh, I read the line a Grainne. I have ice to haul the deer and all. A cholín for a Chaoimh. He's only Labhrás Grainne. A chatu evel gan hura. Bíochas and mas na grochan was nu egiers garas na gunta. Bagashkiachins an garachu is to haro an gala. Is for vinnelat na Cheoil na beep. Gistan na mighty rawa. Talang a gaenu the new. A cholín for a Chaoimh. Agus in a lat ar sol and noon. Mar a wee to loch the hair. Exflaviachtis, exloisht ar chre. O I read the line a Grainne. A have to haul the deer and all. A cholín for a Chaoimh. Ní a to a ríis go do. The ní scara tó a rís go brach an bhón híomh an Fleidhe. Fog slán clad a fés slíomh, fog slán clad na mara. Mar níle tó go John an nóir de hír nó de whaile. Tá longa gala nó na nniu, a cholín fáric Chaoimh, agus I me leat ar sálan mar a bhí tú luach a héir. Ag slábíochtas, ag slúistear chré, ó éirí go lainn na Grainne. A bheits tú hall I ddír na mall, a cholín fáric Chaoimh.
And so to the piping tradition. Sean Reid, that great piper who lived in Denis, did enormous work for the revival of the pipes, and Séamus shared his passion. He and Willie Clancy shared a deep friendship, but what most people probably don't know about Séamus is that he was the man who sent out that all-important letter to call that famed meeting of pipers in Bettystown, a meeting widely credited with turning around the decline of piping. And from the Cork Examiner's report of the documentary of Tadhg Cahir regarding the same, and I quote, a letter sent on February 25th, 1968 by a young and energetic Séamus Mac Mathúna of Comhaltas Ceoltóirí Éireann from an address, Coiste Macruma, to some of the 100+ pipers left in the world, began the revival of the instrument. There are now 6,000 players of this uniquely Irish instrument, and they are a vibrant part of the international music scene. Owen, can I ask you one question, Little Hell? Yeah. He was always great crack, wasn't he? But he was deadly serious about raising up music and raising up the standard of musicians.
Yeah, certainly. What Séamus brought to us was the sense of fun you could have when you're playing traditional music, like, you know. And every time we went somewhere or started a session, it became a great adventure. And when, like, on that adventure, you meet the likes of Louise and you meet the likes of Sorcha and everybody that was on stage here. He instilled a great spirit into everybody he met.
Lovely.
You know, and it shows in the music that you've heard tonight. You know, it's phenomenal, really. You know?
So let's continue that adventure and let's hear the magic. Good evening, Mahon.
Thank you so much. We've had such a gorgeous evening, as everybody's echoed. It's just been so special, and I really feel Séamus is here with us. And I know that his spirit lives on, and what a legacy he has left. So we're going to play two rousing reels in honour of that great spirit, energy and passion and enthusiasm that Séamus always resonated everywhere he went. And we're going to play two reels. The first one is called Kiss the Maid. Kiss the Maid is behind the bar, and the second one is called The Maids of Manskisko. Woo!
Thank you.
Grieve. Thanks so much for coming tonight. As you all probably know now, my dad was a fantastic composer, so we're going to try to honour that legacy in this set. The first is a little riff. The second is actually not composed. It's by a Scottish musician called Callum Stewart. It's called Looking at a Rainbow Through a Dirty Window. Very long name. And the third one is a jig that I wrote during what happened to be actually some of my dad's final weeks on this earth. It's called Dado a Cree, and I'm going to be joined by my sister Circa on the low whistle. We dedicate this tune to our Dado, who never failed to encourage us. Grogoni Dado.
Thanks a million. We have only ran about an hour over time. But you've been wonderful. Good a mille mágaibh. Rúla Bustí Hain. This is Larry from Grainne. The men from Ardine said we will shoulder him proudly, and the men from the Falls Road said that we knew him too. When Dublin disowned us and the Free State they sold us, brave Larry from Grainne to his country proved true, and I weep now for his young life, as many hearts are breaking, and I weep for all true men sold by traitors and slaves. He has come but not vanquished, brave soldier, true friend, who ne'er bowed a knee to a tyrant or a knave. In the year 69, when the Lord spoke for a freedom, and the brave men of Derry and Belfast arose, he left his own home and the ones that he loved dearly, for to fight with those men in the Falls and the Bourne. And I weep now for his young life, as many hearts are breaking, and I weep for all true men sold by traitors and slaves, for he's gone but not vanquished, brave soldier, true friend, who ne'er bowed a knee to a tyrant or knave.
It was so beautiful hearing all those stories of people that remembered my dad. And one thing you'd always know about him was he was so encouraging. And we all felt that as well. You know, when he heard something done well, he'd light up. And my experience was, if it wasn't your best work at all, he'd say, that was interesting. So he was never wanted to discourage you with his opinion or his critique. But you always felt he would bring the best out of you. And you could tell by the reaction if you're on the right track or not. So we started composing many years ago, and he used to love hearing new stuff. He used to hear If it was any good, he'd light up. So one of the songs we did, one of the works we worked on was from Antán Bóchulan, you know, that ancient Irish story. And we have a story in it of a headless horseman. Sort of a Sultan goes on this crazy ride through the night to deliver a message and loses his head, but kept going anyway. With the head on the shield, and the head, still with a mission, delivered the message. Fair gundar mana berder, baha egder. We call it Scrad Cheoil Sultan, or the scries of Sultan's head.
Sultan ben fighting on the Nagle spolte the talk of Colin and refused it head and all hockey no heading Shindrock Dreshen the Nagle Sultan Messon Senrinchiski Fenbar Sultan got Beleshki feina Hindo Sultan Beden Takt fein Bar Cholorishin Beden Agus Onskiet Barshin Och Agus Onkian Barshin Skiet Travert Kjan the Sultan Lovire Fair Gondar Berdar Ba Heider a Hol to Bar Kjan Fair Gondar Berdar Ba Heider Bar Kjan Sultan Don Sultan Rem fighting on the Machelish Acholte the Tach Harlem in name of Voice State Karen on Hidna Hayden Dungeon Drop Dreshen the Mache Sultan Miss Sons and Rim Shishki Fenbar Sultan got top billet be a feina Hindo Sultan live and tak fein Bar Cholorishin in Agus Onskiet Barshin Agus Onkian Barchinski Agus Ravik the Sultan of Rire Fair Gondar Manal Berdar Ba Heider a to Bar Kjan Fair Gondar Manal Berdar Ba Heider Bar Kjan Sultan Fair Gondar Manal Berdar Ba Heider a to Bar Kjan Fair Gondar Manal Berdar Ba Heider Bar Kjan Sultan Sultan the fighting on the Machelish Pocholte the talk of Colin in the forest Karen all Koki no Hayden Dungeon Drop Dreshen the Mache Sultan Messon Selin Shishki Fenbar Sultan the talk of Billet Ski Feina Hindo Sultan live and tak fein Bar Cholorishin Beden Agus Onkiet Barshin Agus Onkian Barchinski Ravik Kjan the Sultan of Rire Fair Gondar Manal Berdar Ba Heider a to Bar Kjan Fair Gondar Manal Berdar Ba Heider Bar Kjan Sultan
Fáilte Rash le Clown Mc Mahon, we're coming to the end of this wonderful, magical celebration. And I'm reminded of the late, great Tony McMahon when he said about his fellow Clareman, Séamus, you have a heart bigger than any mountain. Larger than life, Séamus, you are, and larger you will remain in our memories. Your inspiration and all you have done for our music, how honoured I am to be singing your praises. Séamus Akara, how honoured we are to have you been singing your praises tonight. God Mc Mahon.
Carnach, Denis, the last thing of the night, and I bet you can't guess what we're going to sing. It might be a song he was pretty well known for singing on Dad. But can we give a huge round of applause to Senan Lillis for being such an amazing MC? Woo! Up good layer. Woohoo! Up. And we'd like to, on behalf of the whole family, our heartfelt thanks to Comhaltas, Labhrás, everybody involved, to Barbara Walsh. I'm going to leave everyone out now, so I won't go any further because there's tons and tons of people. To all the incredible musicians, like the people who are at the top of their field, the absolute cream of the crop, and they all came here tonight to pay honour to Dad, and that just means so much to us. Thank you so much. So, click no muid a chorja. Got the night. Take a picture.